In late January, we reported on soil moisture concerns throughout Nebraska. While those concerns continue, recent rains have given some relief to portions of the state. If there's a complaint to be had, perhaps it's the speed at which rain fell. We talked with UNL Extension engineer Paul Jasa on Tuesday about how water eroded portions of some farmland.
Well, this past weekend we had about 2.5, 3, maybe up to 3.5 inches of rain blow through this area. And the rain came, some came gentle, a lot came fast. And that fast raindrop impact hit an unprotected soil surface and we can detach some soil particles. Well, if we got unprotected soil, we get a situation like we have here where the water started to run. It definitely had some erosion problems.
So what do we learn in a storm like this when the rain comes so fast and it was so dry? What do we learn about how to go forward and maybe plan for the next season?
Well, the main thing is just try to get that soil surface protected. It's that raindrop impact on the soil surface. It detaches the soil particles. As it does that, we form a crust in the soil surface so less water can soak in. The less soaks in, we get more runoff. Those detached soil particles get carried away. So the key is, let's get that soil surface protected.
And how do you do that?
Well, I'm a fan of no-till, leaving crop residue from last year's crop out there. Another thing that's really popular in the ag magazines now is cover crops. And get something growing there just to get that soil surface protected. Our cash crop takes over for that later in the season, but that's not growing here in an April type of thunderstorm.
Well, when you talk about cover crops, is that not only an area you can plant across the entire field, but also parts of fields? How did that work in a storm like this?
On a storm like this, we have a nice example in this field across the hill here where they did the dirt work here, rebuilding terraces, doing some tillage, but they planted the oats cover crop there, and it actually anchored some of the soil. The rain still came fast and some ran off. But a good established cover crop, the good root system, helps anchor the soil, and that crop residue above the ground, the growing cover crop, absorbs that raindrop impact.
Break down the erosion and how it works from the process of the rain hitting the ground and the different types that you've seen in fields from the storm.
Well, with wind erosion and water erosion, it's got the same 3 steps. The first is soil particle detachment. When unprotected soil gets struck by the force of wind, or in this case, the force of rain, detached soil particle, then we get transport. Either the wind moves it, or in this case, the flowing water moves it. And the third step is deposition. Slow the wind down, slow the water down, it settles out. And so we'll have that detachment, transport, deposition. Here the detached soil particles from the top of the hill got transported down the hill and settled out down here on the bottom, covered up some of his crop.
Is there a time when the rain's just going to be so heavy that nothing's going to stop it?
Well, it's quite true. We can spend money to make a terrace system next to bulletproof. Farmer can't afford that, and we as a society don't want to help cost share that. So a lot of our ag structures are built what we call a 10-year design storm. The type of the rainstorm that comes once in every 10 years, we're going to have a failure, we're going to have to fix it. The bad news is these terraces were repaired and rebuilt, and before even were used, he got the 1 in 10 year storm, so we had a problem.
And so what's the key there? If you're rebuilding a terrace, even now before planting, which most people are probably done, but if you have to rebuild?
The key thing is just get it protected as soon as you can. When they're doing highway road cuts, roadsides, we see them put a straw mulch out there. We can't afford to do that on a field size basis, but we can go out there with a cover crop seed, get something seeded there early. This dirt work was done soon enough. We could have planted something a month ago, 2 months ago, had something growing there to protect that soil surface.
What's the concern going forward? If fields have already washed away, is there another concern that if another hard rain comes, the pathways are already there?
Pathways are already there, and the farmers sure don't like those when they go bouncing across them with their sprayers. It's a little rough out there. The key thing is if we fill them in, we have to anchor the soil, get something growing there. And so a lot of times I'll tell a farmer in a field like this, like see what comes up, then get the areas fixed that need fixing, leave the rest of the field.
So you're saying don't necessarily replant quite yet?
That's right. It's still early enough. We're here in April. This field we can decide in another 3 weeks if we need to replant and still get crop in on time.
And you can still make a decent crop off of it, you think?
That's true. When it comes to dryland production in southeast Nebraska, if I can plant by mid-May, I'm still doing pretty good.